Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to see that right at the top of the hour, we already have almost 50 people who are here joining us live for this event. We're going to give that number just a second to grow a tiny bit before we jump into Ask a Manager. But we are so excited that you guys are here. Hope you guys are all having a great day. I'm having a better day now that I'm doing this event because there's a fly in my kitchen earlier, and you know what that's like when I had my paper towel in one hand and my fly spray in the other hand, and I'm standing there waiting to see if I can hear it buzzing around.
Did you get it? That sounds awful. Did you get it?
I did. I got it eventually.
Oh my God. Good for you.
Awesome. Well, I think we can go ahead and jump in. Thank you all so much for being here, everybody who is watching. Feel free to introduce yourself and say hello over in the chat. We would love to know, who's here, who we're talking to. Thank you so much to everybody who pre-submitted questions in the Q&A box. We are going to answer those in a few minutes. We will get there. But for now, I am super excited to officially introduce you all to Natalie. Natalie is our in-house creator manager here at Beacons. She has over 30 creators on her roster. And as somebody who has access to her Google Calendar, I sometimes wonder how she gets through the day because she does so much and she has so many people who count on her to make their lives better. And she just does an absolutely incredible job at it. And I'm going to share my personal favorite fun fact about Natalie on your behalf, which is that in your previous life at NBC, you helped cast one of my all-time favorite reality TV shows, Traitors, which I think is a hidden gem. And if you have not watched it, you should go watch it and tell Natalie congratulations for doing a great job casting it. So I will turn it over to you if there's anything else you would like to add.
Thank you. That was a very warm welcome. I was not expecting. So thank you. I love working with Isabel as well and meeting all of you guys through working with her in the community. I did help cast some shows like Traitors and Love Island USA, so not UK. I know I don't know how many people actually watch USA, but I am watching it right now and I recommend it. But I'm excited to be here with you guys. I get a lot of questions from my own creators, from so many Beacons users about, just how to be a content creator, how to get brand deals, how to monetize, how to read a contract, so many different things, how to price yourself. And I'm excited to answer some of these here. Before I dive in more, I'm sure you guys can see we have another person with us, Megan. And Megan is one of the creators that I work very closely with and help represent. So I wanted to bring her on here so she could introduce herself and answer a little bit just talk a little bit about what it's like to have a manager and what it was like before that. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to start sharing those and she'll be able to answer some of those as well. So Megan, will you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Megan. Like Natalie said, I've been working with her for quite some time now. I think like at least over a year, right? Or a year?
Yeah, almost a year.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, so I mostly focus on TikTok content. I live in New York City, if you couldn't tell by my handle with the NYC at the end. Originally went viral by accident with a video about my apartment that got 14 million views and brought my followers from like 100 to 30,000 almost overnight. And I had no idea what to do with it or how to monetize it, or even because I started getting people reaching out for brand deals and I had no idea what to do. So kind of took a few months to figure out, okay, what are these people following me for? What do they want to see? As I started to figure that out, luckily I got involved with Beacons. I met Natalie, and Natalie's been here and really helped me with my brand partnerships. We've worked on some with Amazon Lifestyle, Raising Cane's most recently, and some other smaller brands, and a lot of like New York City restaurant type things as well, and events. So happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Megan. I have loved working with you and so many great things that we've done together. But I think, that we have some questions right there that are very vague. But I think just hearing from you, like, what has it been like having a manager? What are some of the things I help do for you or what are the things that you do for yourself? Disadvantages, feel free to share. It's a safe space. And just, tell other creators, I think, what it's like to have me helping you out?
Yeah. So the first thing I did that really helped was I made an email account that was specific for like outreach from TikTok or Instagram, any digital media stuff that came through like that work I was doing. So that was the first thing I did for myself, just to help me kind of break it off from my regular Gmail account and put that in my bio on TikTok and Instagram. And that helped me kind of funneling in partnerships that way. And also, actually, I got more outreach that way because a lot of people who are looking for creators to work with don't want to work too hard. And if you make their job easier by having that email in the in your what am I looking for? In your bio.
Yeah.
So that's how I started originally to help myself. And then Natalie came in and was really helpful with the contracts because I was not familiar with how partnerships or contracts worked for brand deals, where Natalie was very knowledgeable in this space and was able to really help me and walk me through. The thing I've been really thankful for is like the communication with Natalie. Like we talk all the time. Anytime something comes through, I feel like I can really trust her. She really helps me I have a full-time job. This is like a side job I have. So I'm working all day long. So it's nice to have somebody else on your side and in your corner that's helping you, whether it's make sure the emails go out and the contract's getting sent, whether it's somebody revising the contract and skimming it before I have a chance, like I don't have time to, and she's able to look through it first and like, hey, like here's some red flags I'm first seeing right off the bat. Like, do you want to take a look too and tell me what your thoughts are? I find that to be very helpful. It just makes it more efficient. And I think the brands enjoy working with us too more because we are quick to respond and get them the things they need by deadlines, which I think that they run into other issues with other creators with that, which I can totally see how. But yeah, so Natalie really helps me with all that stuff. I would say contracts and the email stuff. You've been really the best, just the best. I don't really have any disadvantages. Like I can't think of any, to be honest. Like it's just been great. We both have access to that email account I was telling you guys about. So she's able to monitor it along with me. So if I don't catch it, she catches it. And we just like are constantly texting about that stuff. But I'd say the contract stuff for sure is the biggest help.
Thank you.
We did get a question in the chat, which is how do you plan out your content? Do you guys create a content calendar together or have specific style videos you recreated again that, you know, over and over that you're trying to become known for?
Yeah, great question. Natalie and I do chat about content quite a bit. We don't have a content calendar, and I will say I don't either. I say I like have like staples, like once or twice a week. I'll know like I try and post on TikTok. I try and post 5 times out of 5 times a week. So normally I'll have like 2 or 3 things I know I'm going to do. And then the other 2 kind of just happen. For me, again, a lot of the content's like about my life in New York and restaurants I'm eating at. And that's just naturally happening because I'm going out to dinner with a friend and then I'll just film the restaurant and like say my thoughts on the restaurant. So some of it kind of just happens naturally for me, but her and I are both kind of on the pulse of what's going on. I'd say the content that I'm becoming known for would mostly lifestyle in New York for the most part. My apartment in general, decorating it, things like that. And Natalie and I will talk pretty frequently about like, if I don't have content ideas of like, hey, like, what have you seen in this area? Have you seen anything that you're really liking about, she lives in San Francisco. So I'm like, okay, what are the San Francisco creators doing in San Francisco? Like, what are you seeing that like may help me out too? So we do talk about it and brainstorm ideas. And anytime Natalie sees something that she thinks is a good fit for me, she always sends it to me. So we're always kind of in communication about content and like staying on the pulse that way. But I wouldn't say I don't have like a physical calendar written out. I know you're probably supposed to.
No, I was going to say, I feel like it depends how organized you are. I definitely have some creators that have like specific calendars. And I think depending on your niche too, like if it makes sense for you to do the same video every week, like, and you're doing kind of a series with that might make more sense to have a calendar going. But for Megan, as she said, a lot of it surrounds events that she's going to, dinners and restaurants she's trying. And so typically anything I see that I think she could replicate or talk about, or I'll be like, hey, you know, this week is the Met Gala in New York. Like, is there anything you can do to make something about that? Like, that's kind of how our communication goes with content. And then we have a weekly check-in over Zoom where we chat about everything, including kind of hey, what are you planning on creating this week? And, if you don't have something, I'll send some ideas your way. So
yeah. I think, that's exactly it. I think for me, I work in social media for my day job, and I do have a content calendar going for like my actual full-time job. And for me, I think like I want to make sure this stays fun. And I think the minute for me, I like start like putting like parameters around everything, I'm going to not find it. It's going to seem more like work to me, like I do during the day. So for me personally, that's why I don't have the content calendar for this stuff, because I am doing it all day long for a different company.
Very true. Okay. I feel like this was incredible. Megan, thank you so much for coming by. If anybody has more questions, specifically for Megan, let us know and we can always send them her way and bring them back to you. There are some more coming in. Maybe let me
I can answer
that.
Let's take this one. How has it been balancing your regular job and this as a side gig? And at what point would you advise someone to leave their traditional job to pursue content creation full-time? I feel like that's top of mind for a lot of people, since most creators, especially those who are like starting out and growing, do have full-time jobs.
I'll let the second part up to Natalie. I don't know about like when to leave a full-time job. For me, it is hard to balance. I'm not going to lie. I am constantly thinking about like what content can I be posting on my own page while I'm doing my other work, and figuring out if I have a brand deal going on. Okay, can I book out an hour during the day to film this? Like, am I going to have to do it after work? And trying to figure all that out. I would say for the most part, I'm able to film my content after work, because it's mostly like going to events or it's me chatting to the camera. So I'd say most of it is after work, and then I'll try and find an hour during the day, like my lunch break, to try and start editing content, like to edit the videos if they need any editing or anything like that, voiceover, all that stuff. So I try and do filming the content after work, and then if I'm up for it, editing it right after. But if I'm not up for it, trying to do it the next day, maybe like during my lunch break, and then hopefully finishing in that lunch break and just posting it during the lunch break is kind of the way I've been doing it. And then I mostly take the weekends off, I would say. I mostly don't post on Saturdays and Sundays unless something crazy or I have a crazy idea or some rambling to the camera.
I will say you do film though. Like if you're doing something fun on a weekend, you will film it. And then over the week, you kind of deal with editing it and posting it that week.
Yeah, normally I'll film because I feel like the weekend there's a lot of good content. I just don't want to be editing it over the weekend. So I'll do it during the week. And normally that I'll take after work. But yeah, I try and put an hour during the day of work day to put to myself if I can.
And I can take the second half of that question, kind of asking when to quit your day job. Obviously, kind of a loaded question to answer. And I can't give like a full take this advice and do this. But I think in all transparency, content creation is not a very stable job. Obviously, you're not getting a paycheck that's coming in every 2 weeks, like a maybe more typical full-time job. I think once you've hit a place where you have some long-term partnerships that are, locked in for maybe a full 6 months, a full year, once you know that your income for at least, I would say 6 months has hit something that you're comfortable with and you can live with, maybe then you could consider kind of shifting. But I think don't quit that job until it's become too much, right? Like if you usually one lens to the other, maybe it's helping you actually with giving you content to create. I know with Megan, it does. Some of her, as she was saying, she does social media for a company. So like there's opportunity where things overlap or help each other out. And I think it's not worth kind of quitting your job until you are fully set. And that can look different for everybody. So if you have questions about that, we can always chat. But Megan, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it, as always. And you feel free to hop off, or if you want to, mute yourself and listen, we'll chat with you later.
Yeah, it was great meeting all of you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, or if you follow my TikTok and write in the comments, I'm sure I could answer there too, if that's easier.
Yeah, and if you're in New York City, definitely follow her, because every restaurant rec and event rec, and she's just a good person to meet and see. So let us know if you're in New York City.
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.
Amazing. Thank you so much. All right. So now that we've had the chance to check in with Megan, sort of see the creator perspective, we're going to dive into these like top questions that Natalie is asked on a regular basis by creators she manages, by other creators who are interested in management. And these are sort of like the top categories that reflect the questions that you guys asked along the way too. So we will be addressing specific questions that you guys have asked during these times, and we'll also have a separate time for more questions at the end in case we don't cover anything or if you have something specific you want us to get into. So we are going to start with everybody's favorite question when it comes to content creation, which is pricing and how do I price myself?
Yeah, tough one again, tough question. I think pricing is so subjective. So I want to start there and just let you know that it's an ever-changing scale. The number relies on so many different factors that I think you should consider. So instead of me being able to say to you, if you have X amount of followers, you should be charging X amount of money, I'm going to talk to you about certain things that can help you decide how much to price yourself at. And I do want to note that we do have a pricing calculator within the Beacons product. So that is actually taking data from every creator that puts in information, including myself with my creators. So it should give you somewhat of a starting point. I wouldn't say you should take that number and run with it, but use it to kind of then determine if, what you can charge in the ballpark. I think the most obvious thing to consider is obviously your follower count. That does matter. However, there are so many other things. I think engagement rate is becoming more and more important than follower count, actually. Most of the brands I talk to ask me for that engagement rate. And if you have a small following, even for example, Megan, she doesn't have millions of followers, but she has a lot, but not millions. But she has a really, really high engagement rate. And so it's easier for me to highlight that when I'm pitching her. And she still brings in some really lucrative deals. So I think know your engagement rate, which you can also find out through Beacons in your media kit. But also so many other things come in. For example, the niche that you are in. So I think it is true that if you are in something like fintech, right, or finance in general, tech, trying to think of other things, like that is an area where you can charge a lot more money. The companies are willing to pay a lot more money, whereas potentially fashion, sometimes they can be like, we're just going to give you product, right? So look at the company that's reaching out to you. Also, Amazon should be paying you more than the mom and pop down the street, the local pizza joint, right? Like I think the bigger the company, the more money they have to spend on this and the more money they're typically giving to creators. So gauge the company that reached out, gauge the deliverables being asked for. So oftentimes they will reach out asking for one TikTok video, and that's all that they say. However, there are so many other things, which this will come into contract review as well, that they end up asking for, even if it is not in the original email and it just pops up in the contract. They may ask for exclusivity, for example. So if they're asking for, a month of exclusivity for specific brands that you can't work with, that is something you can charge extra for. Usage rights is something that you can charge extra for. There are such things as organic usage rights and paid usage rights. So what that means is basically, what does the brand have the right to do with your content? So once you create that video and you hand it over to them, are they able to post it on their socials? Are they able to put ad spend behind it and promote it across their channels? Are they able to cut it, manipulate it, and put it on their website, use it years from now? And who knows, like if that is where usage rights comes in. These are things that you can charge extra for. So I think right now, if you have a rate for yourself, that's like what your rate is for one TikTok video, spend a few minutes deciding what is your rate going to be for 3 months of paid usage. That's typically, it's like 30 days or can be, you know, so it's either 1 month or it can be 3 months. Never, well, I'll get to that when it comes to contract, but I would almost never sign something giving rights to a brand in perpetuity. If you see the word perpetuity, red flag, because you do not want to be giving a brand the rights to your content forever, especially if something goes wrong with that brand. Just try to make sure there's a duration on there, whether it's, even if it's a year, right? Like, I think typically it's 30 days to 3 months, but figure out what your rate is for usage rights. Figure out what your rate is for 1 month or 3 months of exclusivity. Figure out what your rate is if you do one TikTok video and then you repost it to Instagram and you do a story. Like, have an entire, like, look at yourself, look at all the things you can add value to that company for, and decide your rates. I will say that typically what I tell my creators is that your rate for paid usage should be about, for 3 months of paid usage, should be about 25% of your typical rate. So you would say, let's say your typical rate was $3,000. You would do $3,000 times 0.25, get that number and add that to the 3,000. And that would be your rate for the TikTok video plus 3 months of paid usage. For organic usage, I get a little bit more flexible. I typically try to start at about 15% of your rate. But again, that's something I would give more. I'd be more flexible to giving for free. Paid usage, you should be getting paid for. That means they have money. They're putting paid behind it. And it means that they're using you to make basically an ad, a commercial for them, so that they don't have to spend all the money to do it themselves, like paying a videographer and paying everything they need, a set and a talent and all these things that would charge a lot more than what you are charging. So definitely get paid for the paid usage rights. Again, that is where I'll start. I think if you have more questions, feel free to reach out to us and we'll share more details there.
There are a number of questions related to pricing that I wanted to surface. We just got one in the chat that says, do you suggest creating a rate card, or what is the best practice for communicating rates with brands? And I think that's a great question, because we offer the ability to show rate cards on Beacon's media kits. But I also see lots of creators who choose to say, ask me on them instead of listing a price. So what's your take?
Yeah, my advice is to put ask me, but have a rate card available. So I wouldn't share it immediately and publicly with brands right away. I just think that can allow you to negotiate against yourself, right? You're putting a limit on yourself already. So let the brand ask you, depending on the brand. Again, if Amazon reaches out, I'm just using them because Megan mentioned them, but let me think of something else. If something else I've done with a creator, if Grubhub reaches out to you and is asking for your rates, I think first say, oh, you know, what does your budget look like for this partnership? Start there. They probably won't tell you, but start by putting it on them. And then I think you can start high and say something like, typically my rate is X, but this can be flexible depending on exact deliverables like usage rights, exclusivity, etc. So I always say that. I start high and I say this can be flexible. And then usually they'll come back to negotiate. And if you want to then say, hey, here's my rate card. I can be flexible again with what I'm offering, depending on what your budget looks like. So that's what I suggest. Definitely don't be afraid to share your rate card, but don't start with it is what I would suggest. I saw somebody else just sent over, can I ask for half the payment up front? Totally can. I would say a few of the creators I work with do that. And we ask for the brand to pay him immediately upon signing of contract, and then a second payment within, receiving analytics and net 30 days, whatever it is. So you can totally do that. We are also flexible there. I think being flexible is really important. So for example, one brand just came back and said, we get charged every time we pay, so we really only want to make a one-time payment. Is that okay with you? they were paying a good amount of money. So we said that was okay. It was a trusted brand. So again, being flexible depending on who's asking.
I love that. Honestly, if I could have one wish from a genie, it would be to normalize 50% down payments for content creators, because I can't get somebody to come out to my house and like do a project, without a 50% down payment. And so I don't see why creators are always in this position where you're giving your time and your work without, any sort of guarantee. And a lot of brands, maybe not a lot, but some brands, unfortunately, do make it challenging. There are many more great questions about pricing, but we've got to be somewhat conscious of time here, because you guys are so amazing at asking great questions, and just make sure that we get through and cover kind of a little bit of everything. And then we'll circle back to more pricing questions at the end if we have time.
Yeah, perfect. And Allison, I'll cover some of that with the contract review. So I'll mention that there. Okay, when to work for free. So I don't think you need to run away from working for free. I do have some stipulations with it though. So when it comes to for product or gifting or PR partnerships, I think first consider, like, is this a product you really want? So sometimes it totally makes sense. Like, I've had some gaming creators who have gotten thousands of dollars worth of like lighting for their gaming area, chairs, software, computer setup, whatever, like that. I think is worth it. It was so worth it to them, right? I've had other creators who've gotten stays out of like VRBO and Airbnb. That also was incredibly worth it to them. Avant stay, like those are things that I think would be worth it to me. So, but it's all up to you. Like if it's not worth it to you, don't do it. But I also have creators like will get reached out to by, I don't know, leggings companies and say, I don't really need these leggings, or I do want them. I think it's up to you with if the product is worth it. However, one thing that I try to encourage with all of my creators, and sometimes it just means saying no if the brand isn't okay with it. But if you are doing something for a product, you should try not to sign any contracts. And you should try not to agree to any specific content that you're going to create for that. So if you are getting it for a product, you can say, I will be creating some sort of content. What that is up to me, since this is for free. So instead of signing a contract saying you are definitely going to do an unboxing video, or you're definitely going to do a review video within 2 weeks of receiving product, and it's going to live on your Instagram for X amount of days, you shouldn't be locked into anything because it's for a product. So again, you don't have to be rude in your email, which we're going to get to etiquette of email, but saying like, hey, thank you so much for reaching out. This is super exciting. I love X product. I'm excited to do this gifted partnership. I just ask that there are no requirements on what I post so that I can be flexible with what I share. I don't usually get pushback. When I do, we just say, okay, not worth it. And we move on. Again, if it's like a week stay at a Airbnb in Italy, it may be worth signing a contract. So reach out to me if that's the case. I'll come with you to Italy. But if it's leggings, I think you can pass on it. And then should I ever buy sorry, I didn't even see events and invitations. I think again, it becomes, is it worth it to you? So for Megan, her content is a lot. That's what her content is about. It's about like restaurants to try in New York City, events to go to, what's going on in the city. It's so worth it for her to go to these events. She's met so many people that have led to paid partnerships from these events. I think if you have the time, it's close by to you. Like, I don't think you should fly somewhere without being paid. I don't think that you should, if you don't have to force it in there, but if it's easy for you to attend the event, it's worth it. And it usually adds to content for yourself. So it's kind of a win-win, not to mention the people you will meet. But again, if they want you to do something where it's like paid content, they're going to, again, all the same stipulations that come in with pricing that I mentioned before. If there are paid rights on it, organic rights, if they want you to post something crazy, like that's where you start to say, I'll attend this event and I will be posting, you know, a video or two, I'll share it with you, but I am not going to do X, Y, Z, right? Like you can be pretty clear on what your boundaries are there. For buying your own product, I think, I was just talking to a creator about this actually. It depends. I think if it's a dream brand for you, and it's easy for you to already talk about that brand in your content, it may be worth doing 1 or 2 videos that are very casual, just throwing it in there. Not like a branded partnership, not like try this product, but maybe talking a little bit about it, referencing it, maybe just wearing the product, whatever it is, because that only gives you pitching material to show like, hey, I've already done this and my followers really liked it, and this was the engagement on it, or people were asking me XYZ on this product. So again, we don't want to give them too much free advertising, but a lot of smaller brands especially really want to work with creators that actually authentically like their content or use their product or whatever it is. So it can't hurt, but I wouldn't say like spend $10,000 on All Saints clothes because you want to work with All Saints, right? So, you know, obviously,
yeah, I think
what's worth it.
Would you buy it anyway? Like, are you going to
Right.
use this? Are you going to need it? Is it a natural fit? Is a great question there. We actually had a pre-submitted question, and I'm going to pop it up on the screen. Look at that.
Thank you.
How to turn gifted collaborations into paid collabs. So that's just something I wanted to highlight here because, you know, we're talking about maybe it makes sense to highlight something you've paid for yourself if you want to work with the brand in the future, or you're accepting a product, you know, and like you really like it and it goes well, you know, is there a possibility for these, you know, free or gifted collabs to turn into paid collabs?
Absolutely. And I think you can actually start the before you even do the gifted collaboration, right? When they reach out saying, hey, you know, I have this opportunity for you in return for a product, we want you to do XYZ. You can respond something like, hey, thanks so much. I love this product and I'm really excited to work with you. Do you have a budget for this? Always ask. Always ask. I'll just start there. Like, even if they're coming and saying it's for product, ask if there's a budget. If they come back saying, I'm so sorry, we have no budget for this one, you can respond saying, thanks for letting me know. I typically charge a flat fee for a partnership like this, but because I love the product so much, I'm willing to do this first one for just product. I would love to, you know, touch base after the fact and see if there's a potential for this to be a paid partnership going forward. And then get into the details for that gifted partnership. And then let's say you do it, you post some content, it does pretty well. Then when you send, you know, they might not ask, they shouldn't, because you shouldn't be signing a contract, ask for analytics, but maybe you do go ahead and kind of go above and beyond because you want to turn that into paid. And you send them like, hey, here's a breakdown of how well this content did. I noticed that people commented saying that they were really interested in the product. Is there a way for me to, you know, continue doing this on a monthly basis? Like, what does next month look for you? Oh, what is quarter, like we're going into quarter 3. Maybe it's like, what does quarter 4 look like for you for paid partnerships? I'd love to be considered for that opportunity. You know, I think I have a few creators that have really done that gifted collab and maybe done an affiliate link, which I'm not the biggest fan of affiliate links, but I think you can throw it in there to, if, you know, with an addition to flat fee. But sorry, I was seeing the question going.
No,
up.
That's okay. Sorry. I just threw that up here because
I
just threw it up here because you're already answering it. Like, you're literally in the middle of responding to this. Like, I think the answer is just basically ask, you know, and show your stats. And if you've worked with them in the past, you can show them some information. And I think a key too is like, shoot your shot. That's one of our slogans here at Begans, but also know when to let go. Like, if they're not responding to you or they're not saying yes, You can just move on from that. If they come back to you and want you to do more product collabs or gifted collabs in the future, you can just say like, really appreciated the work that we did together, had so much fun. I'd like to refer you to these stats. I'd love to work together on a paid basis in the future. And, just kind of make it clear that like, that's what you're interested in. You're not going to do more product stuff.
Yeah. And to that point, I know we talk about this coming up a little bit, but there's kind of this weird line. I know it's kind of hard to understand and engage, but you want to reach out and make sure that the brand knows that you're interested. So like sending them saying, I want to work on this paid partnership. Maybe you don't hear back and you do follow up. Like you can follow up, right? Things get bogged down. My inbox gets crazy and I'm not a brand that's having millions of people interested in working with me, right? So it's okay to follow up. If you don't hear back, you don't want to be annoying. But one thing is like, okay, maybe you set a reminder to yourself to reach out every month, right? So just on the month, check in, say, hey, like, I know we're starting summer, so I wanted to check in, see if you had any summer campaigns. I'm still interested in working with you. Just a quick thing, like not aggressive, not rude, but keep yourself top of mind. I can't tell you how many brands come back to my creators months after we've talked to them with a paid opportunity. And they're like, so sorry, like all this legal stuff happened and we didn't hear back until now that we have $10,000 to offer you. So it's like, it's all good. Keep reaching out, keep your name top of mind.
Yeah, I just threw this last question up here before we move on because you're answering that one too. Like, well, what should I do if they haven't responded for this reason or for any reason? Like, the best time to email brands or PR reps or managers or anybody is again. So like, don't be afraid to email them a second time, send a follow-up, be polite. You don't have to yell or say like, hey, why didn't you respond to my last email? But yeah, it's always good to follow up. Okay, we're going to jump to contracts.
Yes, contract red flags. And I think some of the stuff we were just talking about, we'll get into, I think, the next slide, which is like all about etiquette. So we can answer more questions when we get there. Contract red flags, a little bit what we talked about at the beginning with pricing. I think typically you will find that it's super shady that brands will ask for one specific thing in an email and then all of a sudden they send a contract that has a lot of things they did not flag in the initial email. And I think a lot of creators don't read through the full contract. At least that's what I've heard from all of my creators. They're definitely not reading through it fully. So brands know that they can get you to sign that and kind of then you're giving away a lot more than you thought you were. The biggest things is I would just, Command F, the word perpetuity. If you see perpetuity X, like we want durations on that. So like you should never be giving things in perpetuity. You just never know what's going to happen, right? Look at what's happening with Twitter. It was a solid company. And now would you want them to have your content that they could be using in perpetuity now to like, maybe you said something that they could be using for, I'm sorry, it's called X now. Like, you don't want to give it in perpetuity. Give it for a month, 3 months, a year at the most. That comes if you see usage rights. So any sort of things that say rights, right? Like usage and rights, that is something else you can Command F. What are they planning to do with your content? So sometimes they'll say they have the rights to manipulate it, to your image, to your likeness, to any of the derivative works that come from it. Like we don't want to be giving out usage rights without getting paid for it. So as I said, organic is a little bit more flexible in the sense of like, that just means that they can repost your content on their platforms. It means they cannot put ad spend behind it. I think sometimes I'll give that for free if they're not budging, but again, only for a month or the term of the agreement, not in perpetuity. For paid, you have to be paid for that because as I said, they are paying to put ad spend behind it and they should be paying you because you're the one creating it. So make sure you get paid for that. And if they're asking for it, make sure you flag it out or you call it out in the contract. Exclusivity is typically thrown in there as well. something with that is they will be very vague and just say any competitors of our product. Always ask, what is that? And who are the competitors, right? Otherwise, they can say anyone is a competitor. I recently had a creator work with a dog food brand, and they were very vague. And so we asked them to specify the brands. And actually recently, in order to re-sign the contract, I made them specify exactly the product, because there are, some of those brands were reaching out to my creator and we wanted them to be able to work with them. So we just said only dry dog food is what she's exclusive in, right? Like, you can get very specific what that exclusivity is. So make sure it's not vague. And then another thing that I would really look out for is when it comes to revisions of your content. So like, how many edits are you giving the brand? A lot of times they'll say, again, something vague in their that works well for them, that says like, nothing can be posted without brand approval, or brand has last say on content approval. Sure, that's fine, but we want exactly how many edits do they get. So I will always ask for, say something like, brand is given at most 2 edits and no reshoots. So that means like, you will never have to do a full reshoot of your content. You just may have to change the text overlay, or I don't know, change your shirt, or because XYZ, whatever it is, but specify how many edits the brand gets. Otherwise, you can be in a situation where they're coming back a million times, getting you to change, reshoot your content, and just taking forever. Few other things. I'll say one more thing. Sorry, I said that was the last thing, but one more thing is just be aware of the payment terms. So when it comes to payment, is it net 60, net 30, hopefully not net 90, and maybe that's something you negotiate. And what do you have to do to get paid? Because a lot of times you have to create an invoice, you have to send your W-9, you have to do a lot of steps to actually get paid. Be aware of what those things are, write it down, put it in your calendar so you remember when to do those things, because obviously you want to see that payment.
Yeah, contracts are a beast of a topic. I mean, we could have a whole hour-long workshop just about contracts, and we will someday. We probably should do that. But I think 2 things, just like if you're going to take away from the conversation about contracts today, one is don't ever sign anything you haven't read every single word of. Like, the internet has habituated us all to just clicking, I agree, or yes, I agree to terms, or whatever. And you really just cannot do that with your content creation business. So if you want to find a manager to read it for you, or if you need to pay somebody to read it for you, like, that's a real must. And the second thing I think to take away is everything's negotiable. Just ask. Like, you can always say, if not this, how about that? Or maybe 30 instead of 60, or whatever kind of terms. Like, you can always make an adjustment. And before we move on, I'm going to throw up just one question here, which is, if a brand doesn't offer me a contract, should I offer a contract and make one? And I love this question because nobody's going to write a contract that's more friendly to you than you are. And so one of the best things you can actually do as a creator is have your own contract and invest in that like one-time expenditure to have a lawyer help you write or a manager help you write your own contract. And then you can just offer that as like a first choice. So curious, Natalie, if you've ever seen that done, or how would you think brands would react to that? They obviously probably prefer you to sign their contract, which has their terms in it.
Yeah, totally. I think it's so worth having, especially if you're working with smaller brands. It's like startups, or a lot of people in the startup space and tech space that maybe don't do a lot of partnerships. I've had creators who we send our own contracts. So we do have a contract. I have sent one. I would say that if the brand is sending their own contract, they probably won't accept yours. They probably have their own legal team that has already created that. They have to follow XYZ. But if there is no contract, you should be signing something. Otherwise, there is no guarantee that you are going to get paid on the other end. So again, for a product, I don't think you should have a contract actually. But if you're getting paid, make sure you're signing something. And yeah, let us know if we can help with that. And then to Amy, does every brand require a W-9? It doesn't. I believe if it's under $600, you do not need a W-9 because for tax reasons, you do not need to actually even report it. If it's over $600, you should be sending a W-9.
Okay, let's keep things going here and move on to pitching and email etiquette questions.
Yes. So this, I feel like we started talking about a little bit. When it comes, I'll just start really quickly with sending pitches. I think we have an AI brand outreach tool that is super helpful. So check it out on Beacons. You can literally copy and paste the brand you want to work with, a link to their website in your media kit, and it will pop out hundreds of emails of why you should work with that brand. So definitely check that out. The tool will do this, but for yourself, you should also make sure to highlight past projects or just past videos you've done that were really successful. I think something I want to just stress with the pitch and in general with any emails you're sending a brand is that you want the brand to see your personality, but it's still really like a job interview. So you want to be really professional. So things like saying hi instead of yo, or saying thank you, multiple times, using full proper sentences. We actually have a template within community. So if you search within our Beacons community, so if you search template, you should be able to find that. And if you're not in the community, reach out to Isabel to be added to the community because we have a lot of resources like that. But definitely make that email as professional as possible, even if you're showing a little bit of your personality. We want to see your personality, but just professionally. To have a better outcome, I think it's really highlighting your engagement rate and showing past collabs. That's what I'm asked for most. If you have a CPM, if you've done past brand partnerships and you've seen conversion rates, highlight that. Highlight what you've done already so they can quickly see if they want to work with you or not. To find brand contacts, we do not offer that through our Beacons product right now. I think the best way there are companies that do this, but if you don't want to pay for it, I think search the company on LinkedIn, find the people that are working there. Usually there's a pretty easy email template, send the email to a few of them. And as we said, follow up pretty regularly, but not annoyingly. I know it's hard. The line is very not clear, but I think, sending something every month saying, just reminding you that I'm here and I want to work with you is okay.
Yeah, great overview. And let's see if we have any questions here. How can I establish that I am pitching for a paid collaboration without coming across as only for the money?
I think you should establish it. So subject line could be, I always say something like potential paid partnership, your name, creator, X brand. So that just tells them right away that they want to do a paid partnership, that you want to do a paid partnership. In the email, I think you could say, I always highlight flexibility. So I'm flexible on the content I create. I'm looking to do a paid partnership with you, though. I think you can just say, I'm looking to do a paid partnership right off the bat. Put that in the subject and in your email.
Yeah, there's no point in being shy about it. We're all here to earn.
Well, and you can say that and then put a line that's this is a product that I'm obsessed with. This is a product that I love. This is a product that I use daily. So that they still see you care about the product.
This is a pitching question, but pitching myself for management and representation, and maybe top 2 or 3 things you would recommend in that email to catch their attention.
Yeah, good question. I think it depends on the manager or agency that you're reaching out to. So, but I think highlighting some of the brand deals you've already done. So they want to see that you've already been kind of successful on your own. So highlighting that, you know, let's see, what would I want to see? Probably quick link to who you are, a little bio, how often you're like creating content, what you're like a quick, like I create X gaming content that goes out daily on TikTok and YouTube. My audience is XYZ, and I've done these past collaborations, but my goals are, tell me what your goals are. Like, why are you reaching out to me specifically? You want to grow your following. You want to grow your brand deals. You want to make a merch line. You want to get into music. I don't know, whatever it is, like tell us what your goals are so I can decide, is this actually something I can help you with? And if not, maybe I can connect you to a different manager.
Love that. Last question on this, kind of related to email, incoming email. How do I know if an email is a scam and not an actual brand deal? I think if you're asking yourself that question, it's probably a scam.
Yeah. If it's at gmail.com, it's a scam. Like, do not reply to emails that come in from at gmail.com, especially Temu. I don't even know how to pronounce Temu, Temu. I've gotten 8 million emails from them from different email domains. So probably a scam. But if it's at Gmail, it's a scam. I think other ones, like, don't click anything. If you think it's a scam, don't click anything that's in the email, but you can still reply. Like, you could still reply and say something like, hey, I'm interested, send more details, and then kind of gauge how scammy it is. Like, some of the ones that come in from marketing agencies just look scammy. So yeah, I think don't click anything if you're not sure. I know I'm cognizant of time. So this one is like kind of a can of worms. I feel like these last two. So our last two slides. So with this, I will say, I believe that yes, you should be repurposing your content on other platforms. If you haven't been doing it, try to work that into your content schedule. Say like, okay, on Fridays from 1 to 4, or I don't know, 1 to 2, I'm going to spend time taking my library of content and putting that onto, let's say you're big on TikTok, start taking that short form content and repurposing it to YouTube, to Reels. I think it's worth building your library somewhere else. It allows you to pitch like more deliverables to brands. It allows you to build different personas, offer different things. I think it's worth it. I think migrating your existing audience, something that Megan and I did together that really worked for her is she's offering something new on her platform, even though it's the same content. And a lot of it is repurposed. She's offering like, okay, every week she's going to do a digest of the best restaurants she ate in New York, or she's offering like, there's something new to it for a reason for her followers to come over to Instagram. So I think making sure that there's something different if you actually want to migrate. If you're just trying to build your library, it's okay that it's the same for now. But obviously, as you're trying to migrate the audience over, share something new there. Cultivating an entirely new audience, you're starting over. So whatever you did to create your current audience, like, you know, you got to put in the work. And I think this kind of goes into slide 6, which we talk a little bit about, you know, if you want to stay niche, or if you want to be able to show all of your kind of personas. And I think we had actually a heated, not heated, but like everyone got very passionate about this discussion in one of these sessions a few months ago. And people are doing it in all different ways, right? I think you all have so many personalities, but your followers are showing up for whatever your niche is. Again, for Megan, I'll use her as an example. She was all about her apartment. And in order to get into other areas like the New York City scene and like dating, which have been really successful for her, she had to really sprinkle it in. So it had to be like starting at her apartment and then going on a date, so that her followers were still hearing about her apartment and then they were being brought on a date. Or, you know, the dating then started opening up to New York City restaurants because she was showcasing those on her dates. So it's like, how does it weave effectively instead of being like all my content is about gaming, and now I'm going to talk about mental health, it might be a little bit of a left turn for your followers. In that conversation, there were other creators who just started new channels, started an entire new TikTok that was focused on their mental health journey, and that was its own thing. I think for a little while, it was really popular to kind of have the juxtaposition. So like, get ready with me as I talk about finance. And it was like this completely like, you're seeing me do my makeup, but I'm talking about finance. And that was really successful. So I think there are different ways to do it. Know that people are showing up for your niche, but we are human beings. Like, we want to see multiple sides to you. Usually we want to see more of you. Like, I want to know more about my favorite follower, the people I'm following. But you have to do it in a subtle, sprinkled in, slow way to get your followers into that. Again, I feel like we could talk about all of this for so many more hours, although I am going to go hoarse and I can't listen to my voice anymore. And I'm sure you guys feel the same way. But
so two more things we're going to do really quickly. One is that I just put a link to the Beacons community application in the chat. If you mention Ask a Manager in your application, I'll make sure you get access by tomorrow. Come in, post your question in the community there, and we will make sure we answer it there if we did not get to your question today. But before you do that, we do have like 4 more minutes. And so I want to there are a couple questions that have like a ton of upvotes here. Okay. And I want to just rapid fire, like, give me your best 1 sentence, 3-second answer to this. And just everybody we know we're leaving a lot on the table with these.
Yes. This one's super hard I don't know anything about you as a creator, but, start higher than you think you deserve, but not crazy high. Maybe if you haven't done anything, maybe in like the $500 range. Again, that's so hard for me to do because I don't know who you are, but I think something around there.
And my answer is the same as it is for most things, which is to come in the Beacons community and ask other creators, and they will tell you where they price themselves when they were at your stage.
Good answer.
All right. Next question. What are some of the primary things brands are looking for from a content creator? What should I be focusing on when I sell myself for collaborations? I have done paid brand deals, but I would like to be more comfortable reaching out.
So this is a good question to ask the brand, actually. Like, when you reach out, I think you can say, here's my engagement rate. Here is my maybe CPM. I love your brand. Those are things that they're looking for. But once they get back to you, or even like in there, say, hey, I'm flexible to showcase my content depending on what your goals are as a brand. So their goal might be just awareness, but their goal might be conversions. Their goal might be they're trying to bring this product from the fashion space to the finance space. You don't know what their goals are. I think you can ask them, and that will actually make them want to work with you more.
Absolutely.
Wow, Isabel, you're killing it. Popping up questions,
responding to questions. We got to get through. Is there any way I can optimize my account to receive even more brand collaboration requests? It comes and goes. Some brands reach out multiple times a day. I feel like those ones are probably spam. Sorry. Other times I hardly get a few quality emails, and then I'm taking that down because we had this other one, which is very similar. How do you get discovered by brands as a content creator? I think, and please tell me if I'm wrong, Natalie, but I think that's kind of a myth. I know brands do reach out, but the good partnerships are probably ones that you're finding through a manager, through connections that you have at different organizations, or by reaching out yourself, pitching yourself, and like maybe you saw a creator who worked with a brand, and you're like, oh, I could do that partnership. And so you reach out and you pitch yourself. Like, fantastic, lucrative, high quality, legitimate partnerships are not sliding into your DMs every day.
Not every day. They do come though. I will say, as Megan said, put an email in your bio, in your on your socials. I'm starting to hear maybe don't make that at Gmail. Like, some people have been telling me that it might be helpful to make that at something else of your domain. That costs money, I'm aware, but I think, that might be something to look into. I think definitely pitch yourself. Definitely let's see. I will say that the things that come in, you never know when they will lead to something. So sometimes those marketing agencies, like get on the list for some of those marketing agencies, try out Aspire IQ or Maverick has a lot of opportunities. Those are places where you can actually easily pitch yourself.
I picked this one. I picked this one for our very last question because it's a yes or a no answer, and the answer is yes.
Yes, the answer is yes. You totally can. You are not too small to have representation, and we actually, I will be saying this, but yeah, we have an upcoming resource. That's this last bullet point that will be coming out next week, where we will be sharing more about management companies that we trust, that we know, that we respect, and that you can learn more about, whether it's their size, their niche, their platform specific. We're going to be sharing that hopefully next week. So keep an eye out for that. And that should help you. And then, yeah, the rest of it, I'll leave to Isabel to give to you guys.
So I just dropped a link to our Beacons Has a Beacons page. And that's where you can find our social handles and join the community and stay up to date on all of the latest information. If you found this helpful and you would like to see more of it, I really would love to see you in the community, because it's the place where you get priority access to the Beacons team, to people who can answer your questions, to other creators who can help you, and to just like all of the growth and money that will come your way. You know, I see you guys, these are incredible questions that you're asking. Yeah. And I think it goes to show that you're all on the right track with your creation businesses. And we're just so excited to see you grow and to help you do even more.
Yeah. And to all 60 of you who stayed, like if you're not in the Beacons community, like we do have, like we post opportunities. Like when I have brands reach out to me and they're looking for people, I post them there and people reply to me and I connect them and they get paid opportunities. So like, and so does Isabel. So there are opportunities that come that way. So definitely join and let us know what you want to see more of, because we'll do more of these.
We absolutely will. Well, thank you, Natalie, for your thoughtful responses and for taking the time to do this with us. I had a great time and I'm just so excited to do more things like this in the future. So we are going to call it for today and we will catch you all next time. How do we join the community? The link is in the chat. I just posted it. I'm going to post it again. It's at the bottom of our Beacons page. Go join.
Yes. Thank you all. So nice to meet you guys and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.